Hello, friends, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Chris Grant, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our guest today, Simon Wright. Simon is the CEO of an AI-based software solution called Intuety. And on the podcast, we're going to find out how the platform can be used to transform health and safety document management and construction. So, Simon, you're very welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you, Chris. Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Simon, you know what? I'm really excited about this podcast because having been someone who's been a construction manager, site manager for most of my career, reviewed and written hundreds and thousands of method statements, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you know about this solution today. So Simon, before we get into that, can we just begin briefly by telling people who you are and a little bit about Intuety as a company?
Yeah, of course. So I guess a bit of background to myself first off. So chartered civil engineer, most of my working life within the construction sector, you know, in senior increasing positions in organizations, you know, at a director level at national construction companies. And what I've recognized is the increasing challenges the sector's faced over a number of years, you know, and we just lag so far behind other industries, whether it be fintech or the medical sector. Just this drive and need to create a legacy and do something different. So what that led to was approximately 4 years ago, recognizing AI technology can make a difference. But most people, you know, who refer to AI technology just using standard libraries that exist or existing technology rebadged. But being an insider in the industry, I realized what we needed and wanted to make a difference. So I started building these relationships, quite strong relationships with IBM, a couple of universities, the Welsh government, a couple of major contractors, and we built this solution where AI can bring. And I guess the first thing for me was explaining how AI technology can support the organizations. So I use this analogy. So in my age, I've started becoming quite sad and watching podcasts on YouTube and things. Steve Jobs, really old ones. And this is really famous interview with Steve Jobs, whereby he talks about the study of the efficiency and locomotion of animals. And so this is academic in the States, and they done the study of the efficiency of cats, dogs, birds. And what one was this condor sitting on the thermals, not flapping his wings, no energy. And they looked what a human being was like, and he was right back down in the efficiency stakes. So then this academic thought, hey, what does a human being on a push bike look like? I guess all of a sudden, this human being went right up in the efficiency stakes. I don't know if it beat the condor. I can't remember that far back, but it was an incredible difference. And I think that's a superb analogy for AI. So, you know, if I wanted to race against Mo Farah, for example, I could train all day, take every performance-enhancing drug in the world, and not beat Mo Farah. But I can go to Halfords, buy a £100 push bike, and I will smash him out of the park. And to me, that's a brilliant analogy how the correct AI technology can support our sector. It takes a project manager, doesn't make them equivalent to the best project manager. It makes them superhuman project managers or site managers or construction managers. So, you know, for me, that's, you know, what we bring as an organization, you know, and I'm sure we'll talk further on about what the actual solutions look like as well then.
Yeah, okay. So you kind of led way into the next question, really, and that was really what was, you know, in the context maybe of construction and for where you're sitting, what was the initial problem that you know Intuity and yourself identified that prompted the development of the solution? You know, what problem are you solving and what pain are you taking away? Yeah.
So as I said, you know, been in construction all my working life and just completely fed up, of absolutely working ridiculously hard, for 2% margins. If you're in another sector as a chief executive looking in, you'd be astounded to understand how the industry operates. And then you start coupling that with the fact, right, we still kill one person a week in the sector on average. And probably worse than that has plateaued for probably the last 10 years. You know, CDM and all those sort of things had an impact in behavioral science and, you know, with incremental gains, but essentially we've plateaued. We've got to do something different to get a different solution. So that sort of, drove my initial problem that we needed to overcome, and we've got to the point now where we're, we bring in those efficiencies. Now it's faster, safer, quicker, easier, which is at the heart of what our solution brings. So if we start at the what parts and size of organizations we deal with, and we support. It's the entire breadth of the industry.
Okay.
Everybody's got this masses of data that they don't intelligently use, and knowledge they don't use in the correct fashion. So we support, from chief executives down to the charge hand on the ground. Yeah, and that's been super important to us. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, I've certainly learned along this journey over the last 5 years is having great technology on its own and a great solution is not enough. It's coupled with the fact it's got to bring cost efficiency, but more importantly, it's got to be easy to use and make people's lives easier. It's a Six Sigma type scenario. Yeah. So throughout our entire journey, if you like, on a building of our software, we've worked really hard on the user experience. So it is super simple. It's intuitive to use, and people just want to use it. It becomes organically used.
Yeah.
In terms of the documentation and the solution, I guess. Yeah. Again, going back to the fact, lots of companies have spent lots of time, effort, and energy producing systems that work for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I've recognized in the marketplace, there's AI technology creating all over the place. Yeah. They service solutions whereby, we'll go in and work with your company, and you can spend hundreds of thousands of pounds with us. Yeah. And we'll give you a solution. We are plug and play. So we've worked really hard on our, over the last 4 years with some really top end data scientists. Yeah. We will ingest any form of document you have, Word, Excel, PDF, in your current systems, and make sense of it. So what does that look like in practical terms? Well, I guess, where we are today, there's 3 key plug and play packages that exist. So there's one that I've loosely termed Sage. So I'll give an example of that. Yeah. So organizations and industry-wide will have lots and lots and lots of key lessons learned, safe operating procedures, and a raft of other data that is just piling up in the background that they never see again. I've got an hypothesis, and not a theory, it's not proved yet, that every incident we see has happened thousands of times before. We just don't learn the lessons. We just do it again and again and again and again. So what we do, we autonomously ingest that data, whether it be company specific, which is then isolated if you want to, or industry wide. So if somebody asks a question in completely natural language, nothing technical whatsoever, doesn't even have to almost make sense, we make the sense of it. It won't just take them to the library. It won't take them to the bookshelf. It won't take them to the book. It won't take them to the page. It won't take them to the paragraph. It'll take them to the exact sentence instantaneously on that bit of information they want. Whether, you could describe, or just tell me all information about the incidents we've had with buckets falling off machines in the last 3 years. Bang, instantaneously, it gives you that information as an example. We also have we've termed the editor package. So, in your own document format, as an author of a document, risk assessment method statement, for example, you'll upload that document. Our AI technology, which is unique, will read that document, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, Chris, I can see you've got a risk here of excavating 2 meters deep in clay. I see you've identified the risk of falling down the excavation, and you've got some controls. But I don't think you've identified the fact that excavation could collapse. I think you should include that risk. And by the way, here's your control measures." And they go, I think, there could be groundwater here, Chris, it could flood. Here's your control measures. Yeah. So it takes you through an entire document, giving you that information, allowing you to accept or reject it, and automatically injects that straight into your original native document. And the important thing is in this, this is not a drop-down menu. It is so far from that. We've pushed the boundaries of technology with universities and IBM and co. And it is a living, breathing database in something called a graphical database. It continuously learns, evolves, and brings in more data, and it makes intelligent decisions what it sees in front of it.
So it's effectively gallon data, and then you can just basically, it's adding to almost like the group sort of thinking of the data has been created as creating a kind of and it's evolving. It's not just a static
Oh,
database.
absolutely not. Yeah, it's exactly. I've called it a crowdfunding of knowledge.
Yeah, it's
and a lot of our unique engines and technologies are around that, and it's completely anonymized. It's completely GDPR compliant. You work with a number of seriously major organizations, and of course, data is super sensitive from here. So we overcome all them hurdles, and it brings, know-how now is the term we've sort of coined for ourselves. Yeah, straight to the person when they need it.
Brilliant. Right. So Simon, that's a great way of an introduction of one of the, sounds like one of the key features of the platform. But can you just take us through maybe a bit more? How does it work and what does it do? A bit more.
Yeah, of course. So the predominant use is, we've got the author and the creator function on the risk assessment method statement and lessons learned part. So you may be a site manager who's extremely busy here. You've got 5 or 6 supply chain or direct delivery teams creating risk assessments that you need to review, update, approve. Intuity is the hard yards for that. Yeah, the author of the documents will upload their documents. Intuity will work with our author then, improve that document, bring all the knowledge in, tell them when the key lessons learned they happened, identify all missing risks and control measures, and then take that to the author, to the approver, and provide a quality score as well. So, you could be reviewing, or I could be reviewing some risk assessment method statements, and dependent whether we're tired, the day we had before, our experience, knowledge, we review that document differently. We take that subjectivity completely away and give it an an automated, completely subjective quality score, that document. So it's another one of our features that's included within the document, so within our portfolio. And one of the things that's really interesting that's about to come up, we're working with a major utility company on this, is our predictive analytics as well. So we're about to release the ability to not only identify risks and controls, but actually provide weightings against those in terms of likelihood and impact as well. And then start predicting risk profiles going forward on projects or against teams or against organizations. Again, an example of that might be in some of our early work. We're working with literally tens of millions of data points, because that's the beauty of AI. It works in these multidimensional spaces. And we use something called a graphical database. We were looking at a massive data set from a major contractor, and one of the things we identified was every Friday afternoon, the likelihood of a severe incident, not the frequency of incidents, spiked. People might have thought that because people were tired or trying to get home. But then when you get close to a bank holiday, on that Friday afternoon, it goes off the Richter scale. Yes. So that's the type of predictability, an example of a real substantiated example of how the engines work in prediction.
That's really exciting. Because, Simon, that's bringing in a fact that we've not really looked at and properly, I think, or really studied properly, is more that behavioural side of things. Getting the data to match the behaviour. We think we know the behaviours and the thing we're matching, but is that something that you've piloted now and actually seen the data for that, Simon, around that Friday afternoon type of thing?
I know, absolutely. So we've got that data. So we've gone through a sort of alpha testing, if you like. We soon, minimal viable product is not a million miles away being released. So it's real hard substantiated evidence that we've got that feature ready to roll, which will be super insightful for organizations to being able to influence behaviors going forward to make a difference. Because I think it's great identifying risks, but what we are doing as well is identifying how you can impact those risks.
Sure.
And having the foresight to change behaviors, change work sequences, change practices, and do something different.
Wow, that's fantastic. And Simon, would you even get to the stage there of certain, obviously, site managers, site foremen have got different capabilities and skills and skill sets. Are we into that level yet of maybe working out, a site manager has always got more experience or less experience? Is that something you can weigh into this type of thing?
So most definitely, yeah. So I'll perhaps try and use 2 examples, but there for you, yeah. So you'll get your gnarly old construction manager. Nothing can tell me I haven't done before, yeah. They'll put a document through the platform, and invariably it'll probably give them 20 recommendations for improvements.
Yeah.
But then the flip side of that is, you've got these gnarly old construction managers who are worth their weight in gold at this point in time in the world. Yeah,
absolutely.
They've got all that knowledge in their minds, and they've got all the company knowledge in their minds. They're retiring and moving out or whatever it might be. Yeah, this extracts their knowledge. Yeah, so as much as they might not think they're getting stuff out they are, it's equally about them putting the stuff in for their own organizations as well. So it gets disseminated to their teams. So then the other end of the scale, then you've got people, who are relatively new to the industry, graduates, apprentices. This is a great learning tool for them. They might do some documents through Intuity, but the next company or project they go to may not have it. And they go, I did that last time.
Yeah.
So it's about that circular motion of knowledge and skill and experience, which we are losing at a rate of knots from our industry.
Oh, Simon, that sounds really, because for me, it feels like this is a critical time to get a lot of this knowledge and experience downloaded. Myself, I came from being taught by, I would say I learned more from like foremen and supervisors and guys who, they had it up here, up in the, in the head, but maybe couldn't articulate it or maybe write it in a method statement, but they knew it all up there. Yeah. And, we are losing that. And it sounds like this could be a great way to download some of that knowledge, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. We're at the pivotal point, with the increasing demands, the lack of resources. I can't remember the last, we were 80,000 engineers short in the UK the last time I looked. And if you're bringing people in from other sectors, how can we expedite bringing them up to speed? And this is one method that can be used to support that journey.
Well, Simon, just maybe then go on a bit more then, but when people start adopting this solution, what changes for them? What becomes possible, and what are the key benefits? I think you've already maybe touched on some of the key benefits already, but can you just maybe give us a few specific examples around that?
Yeah. So we spoke about it being faster, cheaper, quicker, easier, saving lives and all that. Yeah. So if I try and make that tangible I'll give you two examples, I suppose, of that being tangible. Yeah. So one major contractor who did an early study on us. Yeah. So not phenomenally big by quarter of a £1 billion revenue major contractor. Yeah? Middle of the road, solid contractor. And they worked out, and this was the first astonishing part, they worked out they're doing 20,000 risk assessments a year.
Really?
And that's probably on average for the industry, I would have thought. Yeah. They then worked out, how long it takes to write them, review them, go and find some information. It was probably circa 7 hours on average per document. So if you then take the project manager, site manager who's doing that, cost to employ, multiply it up, it's costing them £4 million a year, yeah. You then plug in Intuity against that with all the speeds, efficiencies, the relationship, because Intuity then goes to all the supply chain, to help them create. So the time it gets to the approver, reviewer, it's already been through the process, it's quality scored, and 95% of documents are getting approved first time when they get to the approval after they've been through Intuity.
Right. Yep.
It brings that efficiency down almost 100% more efficient. So rather than being 6 hours, it's maybe a 3-hour process. And that's a couple of £1 million saving to an organisation of a $250 million. And that permeates right the way down to the supply chain. And that's a great example, I think. And we've already seen evidence of major contractors of reduced incidents as well. Mm-hmm. Not ready to publish that data yet. But yeah, we absolutely are seeing those efficiencies come through. So those are practical examples of how organisations are benefiting.
But it's not taking away the thinking part for the human, is it?
No, we were always really conscious about that, and we've worked with some behavioural scientists and with universities and so forth. Yeah. So what we could have easiest thing in the world we could have done, and I call it the nuclear button. Yeah. But you could have pressed a button and it will produce an almost immaculate risk assessment and method statement instantaneously. Yeah. Yep. But that's not what people make the site safer and the organisation safer. Yeah. So it's about that supporting function to people. So we take people by the hand through their document, so they take the learning away as they go and make suggestions as opposed to impose stuff. So the author and the reviewer are always completely in control. It is always a decision. This is a support function that helps them get to that point quicker, more efficiently, and more comprehensively.
And Simon, you've kind of talked about the kind of cost benefit analysis a little bit already, but maybe just tell me about the affordability of this solution. Are we just talking about your tier one contractors here, or how might an organisation who maybe not a tier one make a business case to a financial director to make an investment in this kind of software?
Yeah, so take it right back to the beginning of the conversation. Yeah, was absolutely the driving force for me was to make a difference, leave a legacy in the industry, and change the way which we work. And for that to happen, it hasn't just been a good idea; it's going to provide cost benefit, and and it can't. We see with pretty much all large software integrations. There's this huge data transfer and difficulty that comes with it. We've really, really focused on it being a plug and play product, and that allows us then for it to be, pretty much a cheap version. So there's not hundreds of thousands. It's literally, if we put it in context, for a primary user, it's less than a sheet of ply a month.
Wow. Yeah.
To put it into context, it's not this massive expense, and that brings a return on investment of maybe 30 times for the value in terms of time for that site manager it brings on a daily basis. And we just worked on it being super simple and easy for people to use, frictionless.
And that takes me on to the kind of setup and onboarding process then, Simon. It sounds like you're saying it's plug and play then. So you might invalidate some of my questions here, but maybe we'll just go through them anyway. How long does it take to get set up? And what are the key things you need from any potential contractor to get set up properly?
One of the first things we built in our organisation when we were growing was a strong customer success team. So we put a huge focus on making it easy. So a typical onboarding process would be probably share some of your documents initially. And if you've got a library of lessons learned, safe operating procedures, literally send them to us on the file, and we'll ingest them into our system, and it becomes part of your library instantaneously. No work for the customer, just give us the file of documents.
Yes.
And in terms then of bringing the customers on board in terms of the use of it, it's literally a 15 to 20 minute induction call from our customer success team. Interestingly, the primary user, the sheet equivalent, the sheet apply a month, might be this project manager or the site manager. We give pretty much unlimited licenses to the supply chain as long as they feed it into that primary user, and we treat all of them in exactly the same fashion and give them the same onboarding process and support on that journey. We got loads of libraries of videos how to do this and that, but they rarely touched because we've made it so simple to use.
So you're saying that this is getting spread down the supply chain as well then, Simon?
Oh, most definitely. That's the key to it. It's that synergy between a principal contractor or supply chain or the client, whereby the knowledge is shared right the way through, right to the bottom of the supply chain and the top of the organization, so everybody's benefiting. So, by the time, whether it's a two-man or two-woman person company at the bottom, they are using Intuety to create their documents. They get instant access, pertinent access to the knowledge, lessons learned. So the time they've created their documents, and it comes through for approval, all that knowledge, learning and improvement is built into there. It's making life easier at that point, and it gets shared in a circle of motion again. So so it's absolutely for the smaller supplier to the largest contractor.
What we're all about, in digital construction skills, is helping SME businesses, select those digital tools specific for their needs, but they are struggling still a bit, with adoption, and they're not getting the full benefits from it. I mean, it sounds like what you're offering here would really help address that if they took the time to maybe look into that. But I mean, just from your own journey, what are the typical challenges that you've found that a company might face internally, and how do they usually overcome these hurdles to get the most from a software like this? Without being corny, that's a really good question, and it's something I've observed a lot of, regardless of the size of software package being bought or whatever, you often come across these internal friction points, and companies don't get the maximum benefit of the investment they've made. So we've got which is now pretty well tested and tried and successful model for overcoming that initial inertia. And it's probably, I would say, a 3 or 4 point step to get into that. You absolutely need
your executive champion in the organization is a start of a 10, yeah? Mm-hmm. So somebody, who has a degree of responsibility in the organization says, yeah, do you know what? This is something we're going to invest in. We're going to do it. You then need, as part of your rollout, which we found, your early adopters in the organization. So there's people who are keen to be innovative, want to improve, recognize the industry is going to move on, yeah? So they become your first early adopters and disseminators in the organization. Very quickly, they come on board. Then when you move on from that stage, because you've got, your core people who have said, yeah, this is successful, it works for us, yeah, we should start disseminating out. What we've found then, you then do need a degree of authentication. You need to actually authorize it and demand that people do it. Because if they don't, until people then gather a certain amount of momentum and all of a sudden it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy and wow, this is brilliant, and it's like they've not had it before. Yes. So those 4 steps we've found have been key to full company adoption and integration. And we've got, large national organizations, constructors, and client-based organizations that are fully adopted across the whole business now. So this is a model that we've found has worked. There's been a bit of trial and an effort along that journey, yeah. But it's yeah.
What just in terms of your skepticism, in terms of converting those people, has there been, have you had to persuade sort of a lot of or what kind of resistance have you overcome? Has there been resistance thinking, no, they just prefer the old school way, or what kind of?
So I think it's not about people preferring the old school way, yeah. Mm-hmm. Generally people are good at their jobs, yeah, and they've done things a certain way for so long, yeah. Why would I want to change? Because I'm doing it well. It's just partly about an education journey. There is a degree of improvement to be had, yeah, which I think comes from the early adopters being able to demonstrate there's improvement to be had, yeah.
Yes, right, okay.
And it's about that ease of use as well. So I'm not sure it's so much about skepticism about products. It's about just clearly demonstrating it's bringing value, because people want to get on with their jobs, do it well, do it efficiently, yeah. So that clear demonstration, this brings value, it's easy, give it a go. Oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah. And you may have to do it 2 or 3 times, yeah. But all of a sudden you hit that pivotal point and it's away, and there's no turning back. We in early days you have the skepticism. Yeah, there's no way your product can do that and tell me stuff. Yeah. But we're beyond that now, and it is.
Simon, I suppose maybe not skepticism is more the not knowing what they don't know, the unknown unknowns. And just making them aware. It is an education thing, like most of these digital tools I see out there. There's some great solutions out there. It's just taking the time to really get to the understand and see it being done. I presume it's a lot of it will be in the proof in the pudding, Simon, and actually seeing it in action. And I guess that's where you're going back to your digital champions within your organizations, really pushing that out. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Okay, so again, a key consideration for many is interoperability of software, right? But what file formats can you work with, Simon? And what file formats can be exported and used on other software platforms? How does it all work in terms of that?
Yeah, so I think something I picked up a little bit earlier in our conversation, yeah. We completely recognise, that organisations are often, or always the case, quite precious about the processes and systems they develop. They've probably invested loads of money, time, effort, and it's kept them out of trouble more often than not. Yeah. So we've worked really hard in what we call our extraction engine, to the fact we can read pretty much any format of document. So we don't ask companies to change their documents or the formats in any way, shape or form. What we have got, and we're about to release, is the ability to create documents within the platform as well. So you've got the choice, essentially, particularly if you're a smaller contractor and you haven't invested loads of time, but it creates them intelligently as well. So it brings the knowledge of, an example being what our platform will do here. It will look at the risk assessment and method statement. Mm-hmm. And, lots of us use generic risk assessments, statement of fact, you're either the biggest contractor or the smallest contractor, you use generic risk assessments, But being builders, we put more thought into the method statement element of it. The safe sequence of work, how we build things. So say within the method statement, you'd identify the confined space, but that didn't exist in your risk assessment. You'll go, haha, Chris, I see you identified confined space bear. You haven't got a control measure in your risk assessment. I think you need to do that. Yeah. So go back to your original question. Yeah, we look at any format, read any format, Excel, Word, PDF, whatever it may be. But if you haven't got a system or you want to go to the intelligently created risk assessment method statement product we have, you can use that as well.
Simon, I'm just thinking here that this must be, when something like this gets maybe more widely adopted in the industry, this must be rethinking then how do we audit things and check things. So when it comes to even health and safety investigations and things like that, it's maybe something we haven't touched on today too much. But this must be, the role of the health and safety advisor or the health and safety auditor, or whatever, for want of a better word. Have you given much thought about that, or how do you see the role changing, or what do you see around that in terms of that side of things?
Yeah, so undoubtedly it's got to evolve like everybody, because the industry is dealing with far more data. Yeah. And I guess I'd answer that question. We've now given the industry the ability to access information that was otherwise lost, buried, never ever be seen again. Yeah. And if you look at the lessons learned part and defensibility in incidents, claims, insurance claims, whatever it might be, perhaps, there is no excuse left or any avenue anymore to say, I didn't know that lesson had happened before. They'll go, you can do that because Intuity does it. Yeah. So I think, perhaps it answers your question without thinking much deeper, which is a brilliant question, actually. You now need to think, there is no turning back. That the fact you can't say, I hadn't come across that scenario before. Don't get me wrong, there might be one in a gazillion chance, Sure. But I'd be surprised if there's any instances occur ever in our industry that haven't happened previously. And if we now can access that and provide that lesson learned straight to somebody, you cannot go by into the court of law and say, do you know what? We missed that one because you shouldn't have anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a tantalising prospect, I think, Simon. You can almost see how we could actually really think about things in a completely different way, which is a really exciting prospect, I do think. So Simon, look, I've got a couple of questions just to wrap up.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah, but what are the key things then a business should consider if they like what they hear about your solution and are seriously thinking about investing in it?
Yeah. Taking aside the things which I think are obvious, but it brings massive return on ROI. It's more efficient. It makes life safer. Can win you contracts. And shows relationships with clients. And I think the bit that spoke about the lessons learned just now. If you are serious about being competitive in the future within a sector, and there's lots of companies are failing way too much at the moment in time. This step change to move into beyond lead indicators, of using the information around you to make intelligent decisions, will drive not only safety and all the stuff that goes with that, but also efficiency. So look beyond, simply the hard deliverables it provides as value. Have a look at the culture and the organizations and the belief in your business. And if you want to be part of the future, whether this or other innovations, you've got to be brave enough to adopt them, and because other people aren't. I think organizations who don't will be left behind quite shortly. Yeah.
So Simon, what should people do next then if they're interested, and how do they get in touch?
Yeah, that's really important part.
Exactly.
More than happy for somebody to email me directly. It's Simon@Intuety Ltd. Go onto our website, intuety.io, and instantaneously you have the option to book a discovery call, and our team will take 10, 15, 20 minutes and just show you the benefits and give you the opportunity to think a little bit further about it. And of course, hopefully, Chris, if you may be able to direct them through from yourself as well through the construction skills.
well, Simon, we'll be happy to point people your direction, and we'll put all the details of your Intuety and the podcast page, and when we put the podcast out. So, Simon, thanks so much for your time today. That's been honestly, I'm so thrilled to have you on, because I think this is a really important solution and a really great step change for the industry. So I wish you all the best as well for it, and good luck. Thanks very much for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chris, for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and been great talking to you. Thank you.
Cheers, Simon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.